G'day everyone, Alex McKellar here again for Infinite Racing Services. We're taking a look at the lap guide, this week's official racing, which is at Knockhill for the first time. New circuit to iRacing, of course, and we are going to go racing for the first time, which is great. Fun little circuit, quite challenging, technical in places. The elevation changes in particular are a unique characteristic of this track. So this week in talking to Christian, talking about setup, brake bias up to a 55 from 54 last week, just to keep the rear end a little bit more under control through the first sector in particular. Setup for spring perch offset, SPO is at 2 plus 2, just to raise the front of the car a bit and avoid doing any damage. You can see actually just in that shot there's a little bit of front wing damage on Christian's car. He said he did that after, I think it was about 14-15 laps. So you might want to think about raising it a little bit more. I did a race here and raised it to 0, actually, just to make sure that you avoid that damage to the front wing, which does cost you time. All right, folks, we might cook into it. Remember, as I said last week, you want to remember that folks like Christian do this kind of stuff, make it look easy, but the likes of you and me may find it a little bit more challenging. And try setting yourself a goal again this week if you can. Maybe it's half a second, maybe it's a second closer to this time than when you started, or you're within that second range sort of thing. But yeah, unless you're in the elite of the elite, I wouldn't feel so bad if weren't quite at the pace of someone like Christian, who's really right up there with the best of them. All right, so we might chuck some telemetry up this time and watch Christian's lap for the first run around Knockhill. All right, so that's our lap. It's a pretty quick lap around here. Pretty short lap, 54.5. You can see in the tail end of Christian's session there, he's in the mid 54s, which is about where you would expect to be. I'd say anywhere in the 54s, depending on track conditions, and you'll be fairly competitive, to be honest. Low 55s, mid to high 54s, and you'll be right on the pace. All right, so the start line's up a bit further, but the finish line is just about here. So keep that in mind when you're doing your racing, because it's a short run to the line, and you'll see the nature of the final corner makes that something that you can use to your advantage, so to speak. So you might, at the end of a race, just determine that there's more in it for you to compromise the exit speed of the final corner for the sake of making that race-winning move, because they don't have a great deal of time to catch up to you before the finish line comes up. All right, so we're running down the front straight, and you'll see here as we cross where the pit lane exit opens up, we're going to move right across and open up the circuit. Now, leg racing that I did, we had pit stops, so you had to be mindful of people exiting pits. Less so in official racing. There's no incidents points for crossing over here. Do be mindful though if someone is exiting the pits that they'll have right away when it comes to this part of the track at least. But it does play an important role when it comes to opening up for turn one. As far as braking references go, you're braking just after the blue cone, in between the blue cone and the sand trap on the left is about what you're looking at. You'll find your own reference there, whether it be a change in the dirt or you know, something that'll trigger you. It might just be the start of the sand off on the left there, and it's a reference point. So don't think of it as a braking marker. Think of it as a reference, and that'll help you because conditions will change, tyres will change, and so this will vary somewhat as well. So pretty hard on the brakes here, relatively speaking. We're going to change down to third. It's about 50% braking zone. So you can see this little white mark on the left here, just in front of the left-hand outside front tyre. That's going to be your turning reference. And just before you hit that, or you might even use the start of the gravel trap, but that white patch on the left stands out a bit more clearly. You're going to trail off on your braking and leave a little bit in there to help you with your rotation. Leaves a bit of weight on the front of the car. See, just the tiniest of fractions there. And then what we're looking to do is hit this apex curbing. So not only are the elevation changes here quite dramatic, but the curbs are quite stiff or steep here as well. So hence that softening of the front suspension, or at least the raising up of the front suspension by dropping the SPO a bit does help. But you can see here, we're all over the curbs here. The center of the car, as denoted by that notch, is right over the center of the blue and white curbs. And the inside tyre there, the front right, is hooking over the red sausage curb there. So we're carrying a little bit, we're getting on the gas before that, but it's only about half throttle. And this is all about stability here. And you'll see this consistently in a few corners here. It's not until the car lands and gets a little bit of settledness about it, or becomes a little bit settled, that we hit full gas again. Now, you can afford to track out turn one quite a bit. Okay, but you might want to think about running a slightly narrower line as well, compromising turn one. And certainly, not only can you cut turn two quite significantly, as you can see here, the center of the car really is really targeting those bollards and the red apex curbing. This particular sausage curb is almost flat and you don't have to worry about it. But this, to this extent, is about as much as you want to cut it. Any more than this and you will pick up the incident point. But so we've tracked out from turn one almost to the full extent. However, as we've lifted to take turn two, you can see there's no brake involved there. We're using the momentum of the car to shift over to the left and then lifted to about half throttle down. Now, Christian's carried fourth gear. You might want to think about changing down to third potentially, depending on your preference, to help with rotation. But the big point to note here is that we're not tracking out to the right-hand side of the circuit as you might do on other corners. You're actually going to compromise the exit, which means we're going to stay right over towards the left-hand side of the circuit here. And what we're looking to do by doing that is compromise the exit speed of turn two, but to open up the corner for turn three. Moves right over to the left. You can move a little bit further if you have the ability to, or you have the time to, and braking just before you get to the ripple strip here on the curbing on the outside of the circuit. Now, this is the point in the track where it's really quite a challenging little corner. You have set it up by compromising turn two, and you opened it up to get a run through here. Now, this is one of the corners where Christian did raise the brake bias this week up to 55%, because as you open up the corner, you're really looking to get a stable rotation, because there's unfortunately a little bit of braking and turning here early on. You can see Christian's wheel input there is there's quite a significant bit of right hand down in the steering wheel while there's still 50+% brake on, and that can lead to stability issues in the car. And so moving that brake bias up to about 55, you might even go 56 depending on how comfortable you are, will help with the stability of the car. It's very easy for the rear to step out here is the point. Okay, so just be mindful of that. You will need to carry more brake to turn here in time, and that can lead to issues with the rear of the car becoming unstable. So again, about 50% brake, the corner's nice and open up. Spot your apex early and then trail the brake through to the apex. Now, again, Christian's getting on to full throttle just as we're hitting the apex. Now, you can take a bit more of the curb on the right there, the sausage curb, if you want. However, the stability of the car's best if you avoid it. And we're tracking out all the way to the outside of the circuit here. You can see a little bit of gravel picked up here, not an incident point, and a great way to pick up time by using all the circuit. So as we come down into the little valley here through turn 4, prior to the chicane, we're just full throttle. We're just going to kiss that curb on the right and continue up to one of the most exciting little sections that we've seen and introduced into iRacing for quite some time. So we've got this really challenging blind cresting, flat out almost chicane here in the middle of the circuit. It's probably the most, dominant feature of this circuit. Now we're going to go full throttle. Christian, interestingly, is taking this in 4th gear. I've found taking it in 3rd is fine as well. It depends on how you want to approach it. Either is fine depending on the speed that you're carrying as well. So we're going to shift over to the left, and you can see there's quite a big bump there with that big red oversized sausage curve, for want of a better term. Now, you can hedge your bets a bit here, ride a lot of it, and manage the disruption or the unsettled bouncing of the car almost, or you can run it a little bit further to the right depending on how you want to manage it. But good example here of using all the curbing on the left to open up the right-hand kink, and you can see the direction that the car's pointed in now, partly because of the steering input, but also because of the bump off the left-hand side. We're right over this curbing, and that's another reason why you might want to lift the front of the car up this week from what most people run as standard as SPO5. Just drop it down to 2, 3, 0. I raced with in the league that I did. And you can cut a tremendous amount of the right hand or the second part of this chicane here at turn 6. And you can see again, whilst we've got throttle application throughout, there's a lift just so that you've got like a maintenance throttle here, and it keeps the car stable through the severe bumps of this chicane. And when the car lands is when you get back onto full gas. And again, tracking out all the way to the left-hand side, you can actually kiss the gravel just a touch and get away without an incident point. So if you've gone through 3rd, through that chicane in 3rd, you'd be clicking up into 4th now. Otherwise, just carry 4th. So again, we're going to track out all the way to the left in approach to turn 7 and lift with, you can see about 45% braking there as we just past or approaching this ripple strip. We lift, a little bit of brake, and trail it a fraction just to get some rotation before applying. Again, you can see it's not full throttle, it's maintenance to get over the bump there. And as soon as the car lands, back on full throttle. So it's a blind cresting apex again. There's a lot of trust and commitment once you get your rhythm right at this track. So you can see again the center of the car roughly pointing towards the apex there, the right hand side of the car riding the red sausage curb on the right hand side. And we track out all the way to the gravel once again, carrying as much speed and momentum as we can. That's more of a momentum corner than anything else. And you can see this isn't, again, an incident point, but you wouldn't want to take any more than this on exit. As we come up the railway straight and into the final corner. All right, so this is, you know, the strongest braking section of the circuit, and probably where you're looking to set up the best opportunities to pass. So we're going to watch on the left for braking references. So you've got a couple of things you can look at. You can look at the black barrier on the left and the gap in there, the little cabin thing on the left there. Or alternatively, there's differences in the colors of the grass that you might want to spot as well, depending on how you've got your graphics set. However, let's say, for example, we're going to use that barrier on the left as a reference, the little A.MK barrier, or the gap in the black barrier there as a reference. We're going to lift just before that, and fairly heavy threshold braking here. As I said, it's the heaviest one. It's not massive in terms of, you know, other circuits, but here it's where you're braking the hardest at about, I'm going to say 60%. As we come down into first gear, and again trailing as you turn in to try and spot an early apex. Now it's very unique, this corner. It's an uphill hairpin, and as you crest the hill, you can see again Christian's not committing to full throttle because of the elevation change. The inside right in particular can lose traction, and you will get some wheel spin. And when the car's settled, as it's crested the hill, we then commit to full throttle and track all the way out to the left. So if you listen to that in real time, you'll hear the wheel spin as the engine revs rise. Just over that little crest, you hear that little rise in the revs, and that's why you don't commit to full throttle, because you'll lose the traction and it'll cost you a bit of time. So the interesting thing about this corner is that there are multiple lines. Christian's taking more of a classic line. However, you may be 2 and even 3 wide here at this corner, particularly in the early or the very late stages of a race where you're battling for positions. Practice multiple lines here, because in my limited experience here, having done a couple of races here last week, the outside line gets better drive towards turn 1. However, the inside line gets you to the finish line first, potentially. So later in the race, you might want to think about that. Like I said, if you get a good run on the inside here, the finish line is only a short run away. Whereas if you take the outside line, you'll get the better drive to the turn 1 if it's not the last lap. And that's a consideration as well, because you can see the line's just here for the finish. So again, it's going to depend on your tactics for the race and where you're at. So in the early stages or the mid stages of a race, if you're trying to make a move, the outside line gets you better drive and helps you to attack into turn 1 potentially. At the end of the race, you just want to get to the line first. So anyway, stuff to think about in your racing here this week. So that might about do us, folks. It's a great little track here at Knockhill. Make sure you enjoy your racing here. Hopefully this has been of some help to you. Check out the Infinite Racing Services at infiniteracings.com. Check out their Discord or their YouTube at Infinite Racing Services. That's about it for this week, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it. Enjoy your racing. I've been Alex McKellar on behalf of Infinite Racing Services, and Christian Perez has been your amazing driver for the Hot Lap this week again. But thank you for watching, and until next time, ciao for now.